in the hope that somebody will come along and say, there's money in this, let's support Meghan and her as ever brand. I thought she behaved so badly, and then Harry too.
London's Supreme Court has never experienced a storm like the one that just hit its hallowed halls. Forget Netflix documentaries, forget the global media spectacles, forget every glossy interview promising inside access.
Someone with a sharp set of eyes has noticed perhaps a mistruth in the Oprah interview.
Nothing could have prepared anyone for what unfolded in courtroom number 7 today. The scene was electric, tense, almost cinematic in its intensity. Cameras flashed, pens scratched furiously, and the air seemed to vibrate with anticipation as one man stepped into the room. A man who has built a career on dismantling empires, exposing secrets, and bringing down the untouchable. Legendary investigative journalist, Tom Bower. And when he opened his mouth, the world shifted. 2 names left his lips, Trevor Engelson and Operation Cuckoo. That's all it took. The entire courtroom seemed to collapse under the weight of what was being suggested. Prince Harry froze, his expression drained of life, a man suddenly confronting truths he never expected to face in public. Meghan Markle, poised, polished, the Hollywood image perfected for decades, fled the room in tears. Her carefully constructed facade crumbled like sand slipping through fingers, witnessed not just by cameras, but by the very institution she had married into. This is not gossip. This is not tabloid fantasy. This is sworn testimony delivered under oath by a journalist whose career has destroyed billionaires, toppled CEOs, and exposed politicians using only irrefutable evidence. And the implications of what Bower revealed about Archie Harrison's lineage. They could rewrite the British line of succession, topple reputations, and obliterate the Sussex brand forever. Are you ready to learn why Buckingham Palace has buried this secret for nearly a decade? Are you prepared to uncover what Meghan Markle's forgotten ex-husband has to do with the monarchy itself? Hit subscribe, smash that like button, and do not blink. The truth you're about to see will explode in ways you can't imagine. The executioner arrived on a grey January morning in 2026. The London sky wasn't just overcast, it felt heavy, weighted with revelation, as if the city itself understood the gravity of the day. Crowds surged toward the Supreme Court, not for a celebrity divorce, not for a petty property dispute, but to witness either the fall of modern royalty or the exposure of a secret that had been meticulously guarded for years. Inside courtroom number 7, the tension was suffocating. International reporters filled every available seat, pens poised over notebooks, cameras aimed like weapons, all waiting for the first blow. The air was charged, almost tangible, as Bower entered. Silver hair, piercing eyes, a presence that demanded silence and respect. Tom Bower doesn't tell stories, he dismantles them. With surgical precision, he has ruined reputations, torn apart carefully constructed images, and exposed hidden truths. Media tycoons, corrupt politicians, corporate giants, none were safe when his name appeared on a legal filing or in a courtroom, and now his target was bigger than any corporate empire, the very foundation of the British royal bloodline itself. Look closely. Prince Harry sits tensely, shoulders squared beneath his dark suit, his usual fire of defiance toward the press replaced by something heavier, emptiness, a haunting void that hints at the terror of discovering a truth that could destroy him. Meghan, beside him, maintains her Hollywood composure, but her hands betray her inner turmoil. Gripping her handbag so tightly, her knuckles gleam white. Calm is about to shatter. Bower's voice cut through the courtroom like a scalpel. Deep, resonant, devastating. He bypassed family squabbles, gossip, or fashion controversies. He went straight for the jugular, the bloodline of Archie Harrison Mountbatten Windsor. And when he pronounced Trevor Engelson, Meghan's supposedly forgotten ex-husband, followed by genetic comparison results, a collective shiver ran through everyone present. This wasn't an internet conspiracy theory. This was sworn testimony. The room fell into a silence so thick it was nearly unbearable. Gasps from the royal legal team punctuated the air. Harry, A man who had sacrificed titles, security, and familial bonds to protect his family looked as though his very soul had been ripped from him. His mouth hung open, eyes widened. The years of small doubts, unexplained absences, rushed schedules. Every tiny detail suddenly seemed to converge into one horrifying image. Meghan's reaction was instantaneous and telling. No denial, no defiance, no polished rebuttal, only complete emotional collapse. Tears streamed down her face as she abruptly rose and practically ran from the room, leaving security stunned and the courtroom stunned in silence. The wooden door slammed behind her with the finality of a period at the end of a tragic novel, a modern Cinderella story turned nightmare in real time. Why would Bauer choose this exact moment to reveal decades of hidden detail? What does he hold in his hands, the file known as Operation Cuckoo, that could shake an entire dynasty to its core? To understand, one must first understand Bauer himself. He is no basement blogger spinning theories. He is a retired lawyer, a seasoned BBC investigative journalist, and a man whose career has been dedicated to exposing those who believe themselves untouchable. His list of targets reads like a who's who of power: media moguls, billionaire industrialists, corrupt politicians. Every one of them thought they were safe until he arrived. Bauer's principle is ironclad: never strike without ammunition, never accuse without irrefutable proof. His 2022 revelations stunned the world, but what he unveiled today, inside London's Supreme Court, went exponentially further. Under the intense cross-examination of Meghan's elite legal team, he remained eerily calm, almost coldly composed. He didn't speculate emotionally. Instead, he demanded a visual timeline be displayed, a meticulous record of Meghan Markle's life between 2013 and 2018, a period he calls the record of overlaps. Bauer peeled back every layer with precision. He began in 2013, when Meghan finalised her divorce from Trevor Engelson. According to the public narrative, Meghan emerged independent, detached, and self-sufficient, poised to embark on her journey toward royal love. But Bauer presented an alternative, evidence-backed story. Hotel records, verified phone logs, and staff testimonies suggesting that her connection with Trevor never truly ended. The courtroom leaned in. This wasn't innuendo. This was documented evidence. Bauer's voice remained calm, steady, as he revealed how Engelson's shadow seemingly lingered throughout Meghan's relationship with Harry. Between July 2016, when Harry first met Meghan, and their public engagement announcement, gaps appeared in her public schedule. According to Bauer, these gaps coincided with trips made by Engelson that were never publicly disclosed. The temperature seemed to drop several degrees. A chill ran through journalists, legal staff, and observers alike. But what truly sent shivers down spines was Bauer's revelation about his source network. Long-time palace staff, who had observed events from behind Kensington Palace's velvet curtains. These individuals remained silent for nearly a decade, loyal to the crown, to tradition, but could no longer ignore the evidence. Think about that. Palace insiders, sworn to secrecy for generations, chose to speak out. Protocols were broken because what they witnessed was too extraordinary to ignore. Bauer posed questions the court could not dismiss. Why were details of Archie's birth shrouded in secrecy? Why were centuries-old protocols broken regarding birth records? Why did Meghan reportedly request changes to her child's official documents months after the birth? These weren't rhetorical inquiries. They were the very backbone of his case. And while Meghan's actions were under scrutiny, Bauer didn't spare Harry. He depicted the prince as a man caught in a larger, carefully orchestrated narrative, a participant in a saga where bloodline questions were traded for promises of love and protection. Internal reports allegedly from royal security forces, which Bauer claimed to have copies of, outlined concerns about the presence of former figures in Meghan's life in the months leading up to the wedding. The impact of the testimony wasn't in volume, but in Bauer's unwavering confidence. He looked directly at Harry and uttered words that could haunt the prince forever. The truth doesn't belong to anyone. It exists, and my job is to bring it out of the dark cellar where it has been buried. In that moment, it became clear this was no longer a private family dispute. This was a historical reckoning, a purge of hidden truths, and Bauer held the key to Pandora's box. The box the royal family had desperately tried to keep locked. The Trevor connection, Hollywood's forgotten prince. Why Trevor? What does a Hollywood film producer have to do with the British line of succession? These are questions millions are asking. Tom Bauer has answers that will disturb you. Bauer doesn't call Meghan a victim of the media. He calls her what the evidence suggests: a master strategist. Trevor Engelson isn't just an ex-husband who can be dismissed and forgotten. For nearly a decade, Trevor Engelson was the invisible architect behind Meghan Markle's rise, the man who knew every struggle, every setback, every private ambition, and every strategic move before the public ever caught a glimpse. From her days as a struggling actress clawing for recognition to her rise in the spotlight with Suits, Engelson carried the memories no one else could. He understood every nuance of her personality, every calculated decision, and, most importantly, the shadowed corners of her climb, the aspects of her ascent that Prince Harry, caught in infatuation and adoration, may never have fully grasped. Inside the courtroom, Tom Bauer posed a single, devastating question that reverberated like a hammer striking glass. Could someone as strategically sharp as Meghan truly cut ties with a lifeline that had sustained her when she wasn't completely sure it was time? According to Bauer, she had firmly anchored herself to her past, to a connection that had shaped her ambitions and instincts, all while stepping into a life under public scrutiny. Bauer presented meticulously gathered evidence of what he termed unusual communication patterns, spanning 2016 to early 2017. At the very moment Meghan appeared swept up in a whirlwind romance with Harry, flashes of paparazzi lights and public displays of affection, she allegedly maintained a sophisticated hidden line of contact with Trevor Engelson. Anonymous emails, encrypted messaging platforms, and discreet phone exchanges, Bauer claimed, weren't just casual catch-ups. They were tactical, a quiet insurance policy for the path ahead, a backup plan if the royal dream didn't go as planned, or if public life collided with personal ambition. But the most harrowing aspect of Bauer's testimony came in what he called the timeline of genetics, a chillingly logical argument. It wasn't about emotion, it was about biological and constitutional consequences. Bauer asked why Meghan allegedly pushed Harry to accelerate the wedding at a pace that seemed almost frantic, unnerving even in the whirlwind world of royal engagements. Why the desperate rush when the courtship was still fresh and palace pressures had not yet mounted to full force? Bauer's answer struck like a dagger. At the end of 2018, a biological reality had emerged. According to the evidence he laid out, if Meghan became pregnant during the period when her ties to Trevor were allegedly still active, she faced a calculated dilemma. On one side, Trevor Engelson, the former partner whose influence no longer promised global status or monumental fame. On the other, Harry, the golden ticket, the man whose royal lineage could elevate her to unprecedented power, visibility, and wealth. Bauer argued that her decisions weren't guided by love, but by strategy, a deliberate weighing of options, a cold calculus on the most advantageous path forward. This isn't about a secret affair. Bauer made it clear. The allegations, if true, strike at the very root of the line of succession. If Archie Harrison carries Engelson's bloodline instead of Harry's, then he has no Windsor lineage at all. That revelation would render his presence in the line of succession a potential constitutional crisis, a national scandal. Tom Bauer framed it as a painful psychological dissection of motives, decisions, and consequences that could alter the monarchy's most sacred protocols. Bauer further argued that the 2020 Megxit, Harry and Meghan's dramatic withdrawal from royal duties, may have been less about privacy or claims of discrimination, as publicly aired in their Netflix series and Oprah interview, and more about evading genetic oversight. The palace, Bauer contended, would inevitably require strict DNA verification of a royal heir. In this scenario, Archie's true genetic makeup, if inconsistent with Windsor lineage, could have been exposed. He drew the courtroom's attention to physical traits. Observers couldn't deny the incongruities. Harry, who had relinquished homeland privileges, faced accusations from within, public criticism, and the shadow of tradition, all in a bid to protect what he believed was family privacy. He had no idea, Bauer suggested, that the very truth he protected might be a strategic fiction. At the end of this section, Bauer left a single, weighty question hanging like smoke in the air, causing the courtroom to fall into tense silence. If suspicions about Archie's lineage began circulating within palace walls, why did Meghan allegedly go to extreme lengths to move Harry and the child to California, a state with some of the strictest privacy laws in the world? Why relocate an entire family across an ocean, establishing a legal fortress to potentially conceal critical truths? The ghost of Trevor Engelson, according to Bauer, was no longer confined to history. It had become a present, destabilizing force, eroding the Sussex family's foundation. Bauer emphasized that the palace was fully aware of the stakes. A common misconception, he noted, is that Buckingham Palace is passive in the face of scandal. The reality, according to his investigation, is the exact opposite. Under the late Queen Elizabeth II, a woman devoted entirely to protecting the crown's sanctity, deviations from bloodline protocols were never tolerated. Bauer stunned the courtroom when he revealed that, immediately after Archie's birth at Portland Hospital in May 2019, the palace quietly initiated a secret genetic verification process. Ostensibly a routine health check, its true purpose, he argued, was far more consequential, preserving the integrity of the monarchy itself. Where were the results of that test? Bauer asked. Sources tied to palace insiders, gatekeepers who had devoted decades to safeguarding royal secrets, claimed it had never been made public. It was secured in a vault deep within Buckingham Palace, a location accessible only to the highest-ranking members of the family. Bauer addressed the obvious question: why hide it? If the results demonstrated that Archie did not carry Windsor blood, why wasn't it revealed in 2019, when the palace could have managed public perception and controlled potential fallout? His answer was chilling and pragmatic: political survival. Exposing the truth then could have triggered the collapse of public trust in the monarchy, which was already vulnerable from the Prince Andrew scandal. King Charles, then Prince of Wales, and Prince William faced a stark choice: reveal the truth and risk institutional collapse, or maintain strategic silence to protect the monarchy's continuity. They chose the latter. But Bauer argued that the cost of silence was immense. It inadvertently created a protective shield for Meghan Markle. Knowing the palace would never publicly confront the matter, she had the freedom to craft an aggressive counter-narrative. Netflix specials, explosive interviews, and public denunciations of the royal family became weapons deployed from a position fortified by institutional caution. And yet, Bauer stressed, the most tragic figure in this saga remains Prince Harry. Described by sources as trapped in a glass cage of lies, Harry fought tirelessly against a world he believed was attacking his family. He sacrificed titles, military privileges, familial relationships, and even national loyalty, all in the name of protecting Meghan and Archie, without realizing he may have been defending a profound genetic deception. Bauer's testimony reframed the narrative. The DNA report isn't merely an accusation, it's a warning. Behind ceremonial pomp and fairy tale storytelling may lie a calculated absence of truth. If Bauer's claims hold, Archie, seventh in line to the throne, could biologically be a stranger to the Windsor bloodline. And when that possibility exploded in court in January 2026, the magnitude of the palace's silence became terrifyingly clear. Every unspoken word, every delayed disclosure, every carefully crafted public statement accumulated into a debt that could ignite global scrutiny and shake centuries-old institutions to their core. In diplomacy and royal circles, silence is often golden. Yet, after Bower's revelations, silence from Montecito is no longer serene. It feels like an unspoken admission. Facts, when examined coldly, raise unnerving conclusions. Meghan Markle, known for ruthlessly defending privacy through lawsuits and defamation claims, has remained conspicuously silent in response to the testimony. She has pursued aggressive legal action against newspapers for minor perceived slights, yet Bower's allegations about Engelsson and Operation Cuckoo float unchecked in the media. The logic is stark. The only way to quash such claims would be through immediate, public, and independently verified DNA testing, transparent and conclusive. Yet, the absence of this step raises questions. Is it possible that the truth is not within Meghan or Harry's control? Could it be something larger, something systemic, that constrains the narrative? Harry, the most tragic protagonist in this unfolding drama, is isolated in Montecito. Imagine the weight he carries. Titles renounced, national protections abandoned, deep familial bonds strained, all in service of protecting the woman he loves and the child he believes to be his flesh and blood. Now, the foundations of his sacrifices may rest upon a meticulously orchestrated deception, and the consequences, Bower warns, extend far beyond personal hurt or public embarrassment. If Archie does not carry Windsor blood, the implications reach into constitutional territory, potentially redefining legitimacy, succession, and the very perception of the monarchy in the 21st century. Imagine a world where a child's identity could be stripped away in an instant, leaving him without the title, without the privileges, and without the history he's been raised to believe is his own. This is the grim reality facing young Archie, who, if the revelations laid bare by Tom Bower prove true, could not only lose his royal title and his place as seventh in line to the throne, he could lose his entire sense of self. Every lesson, every tradition, every familial connection he has internalized would be shattered. The most brutal stripping of identity a child could ever endure. And for Harry, the psychological devastation would be just as profound. Unknowingly, he might have been nurturing a child into a life built on deception, a life that, legally, he has no right to claim. The notion of return to the royal fold becomes impossible. Archie would have been an unwitting accomplice in a constitutional fraud. The cracks in truth always appear, and Tom Bower has thrown a seismic rock into the quiet walls of the palace. He has ignited a battle with no clear victor. Should these genetic documents he references surface in further legal proceedings, which many insiders predict will be explosive, the stakes could force the British Parliament to intervene. What once seemed like a private matter between one family has escalated into a question of national legitimacy, shaking centuries-old assumptions about the crown itself. No fortress is strong enough to keep the truth from seeping through, not fortified wine cellars in Buckingham, not American privacy statutes, not layers of legal manoeuvring. History proves that truth always finds a fissure, and now the critical question looms. Who truly controls the final move in this high-stakes game? Is it Tom Bower, leveraging his shadow network of palace sources and years of investigative experience? Is it Buckingham Palace, wielding centuries of secrecy and protective strategies to preserve the monarchy at any cost? Or is it Meghan Markle, potentially holding evidence that could either fully exonerate her or obliterate her legacy forever? Although the London courtroom has adjourned for now, the aftershocks are far from over. Parliamentary inquiries are already being demanded, constitutional experts are reviewing precedents, and the line of succession itself may require re-evaluation and possible rewriting. Imagine the ramifications if Parliament is compelled to subpoena genetic evidence, to summon Trevor Engelsson for sworn testimony, and to dissect Meghan's every movement and communication between 2016 and 2018. This is no longer the realm of tabloids. It is an official, government-level investigation into the legitimacy of a royal heir. The potential constitutional crisis is unprecedented in modern British history. For Harry, the personal implications are nearly unfathomable. Every joyful moment with Archie, every proud fatherly milestone, every memory captured in photographs now carries a shadow of doubt. A man who relinquished titles, military protection, and lifelong bonds to safeguard his family may find he was protecting a sophisticated lie. And what of Archie himself? If the allegations hold, this innocent child, unknowing and unprepared, becomes the centre of a scandal he had no part in creating. The psychological ramifications for a child's sense of self, identity, and trust in family could be profound, perhaps irreversible. What happens next is uncertain and terrifying. The legal proceedings are far from concluded. Bauer's testimony was merely the opening salvo. Sources close to the case suggest he holds additional evidence, yet unrevealed, documents, communications, and potentially even testimony from Trevor Engelson himself. The Sussex legal team faces a perilous dilemma: file defamation claims, thereby opening themselves to discovery and allowing Bauer's legal team to compel DNA testing, communications records, and sworn testimony, or remain silent, letting the accusations linger, their credibility growing with each passing day. Meanwhile, Buckingham Palace confronts its own nightmarish scenario. Confirmation of Bauer's claims would implicate the institution in years of cover-up, potentially invalidating Archie's place in the succession. Denial without proof risks exposure, with evidence that could render the palace complicit. And through it all, the media thrives. The tabloids have their most sensational moment since Princess Diana's death, profiting from the chaos, while the individuals at the centre face unimaginable scrutiny. The question of whether the truth will emerge from sealed, classified files or remain hidden behind layers of institutional power and legal strategy hangs ominously. These are the questions we must consider in the wake of Bauer's explosive testimony. If he is fabricating or exaggerating, why has no lawsuit crushed him? His testimony was delivered under oath. Perjury carries severe consequences, including criminal charges and imprisonment. Would a journalist of Bauer's stature risk his reputation, freedom, and career on falsehoods? If Meghan has nothing to hide, why has she not immediately authorized DNA testing to silence critics once and for all? A simple, transparent test, conducted by neutral, independent laboratories, could end this nightmare instantly. Yet the silence persists, and the weight of that silence speaks volumes. If the palace possesses proof of Archie's Windsor lineage in a sealed safe, why not release it? Why maintain secrecy if it would vindicate the Sussex and put speculation to rest? Even Harry's own expressions tell a story. Courtroom photographs reveal a haunted, vacant gaze, an inability to meet anyone's eyes, a face marked by grief and disillusionment. What could produce such an image if not the profound realization that every sacrifice he has made, every title relinquished, every familial rift endured, may have been in service of a carefully constructed illusion? This is precisely why the story has gripped the world so completely. What began as a modern royal romance, celebrated as a global fairy tale, now teeters on the edge of becoming the greatest deception in contemporary monarchy history. Bauer's testimony has lifted the curtain, revealing a narrative meticulously engineered for public consumption, potentially far removed from biological and constitutional reality. Whether one accepts Bauer's claims as truth or dismisses them as the ultimate media hit piece, the questions he raises cannot be ignored. They will echo through history, casting doubt on everything once considered settled about Harry and Meghan's story. As Bauer told the court, the truth does not belong to anyone. It exists independently, unstoppable, indifferent to PR campaigns, legal threats, or the fortress of silence built over decades. For Harry, a man who has devoted his life to shielding his family from intrusion, a man haunted by the loss of his mother under public scrutiny, the irony is devastating. Every protective measure, every attempt to shield his loved ones from media exposure may have created the precise conditions for the most explosive scrutiny imaginable. For Meghan, the actress turned princess, turned global icon, the stakes are staggering. If Bauer's claims are validated, everything she has built, her brand, her credibility, her empire, could collapse instantly. And for Archie, an innocent child caught in a maelstrom of deception, power, and secrecy. The future is uncertain, potentially traumatic, regardless of what the truth ultimately reveals. For the British monarchy, an institution that has endured wars, scandals, and centuries of upheaval, this may be the ultimate test. Can it survive in an era where DNA and transparency intersect with centuries of tradition, secrecy, and legal precedent? Only time will tell. We will continue to follow and report every development in this unfolding story. The truth will come, whether through court proceedings, DNA evidence, or insider testimony. Don't forget to subscribe, hit the notification bell, and like this video so you don't miss updates on what may be the largest royal scandal in modern history. Now it's your turn. Do you believe Tom Bower's damning testimony? Or is this a final, calculated attempt to tarnish the Sussex family? Should Meghan immediately authorise DNA evidence to put the matter to rest? And did Harry know the truth? Or is he the ultimate tragic victim in this labyrinth of lies? Share your thoughts in the comments below. Let's discuss the future of the monarchy and whether it can survive if these allegations prove true. The storm of revelation has only just begun, and before it is over, everything we thought we knew about the world's most famous couple may be revealed as nothing more than a carefully orchestrated illusion. Like, comment, and subscribe so you don't miss the next chapter of this historic royal saga.